So I found out through my ordeal, separation and divorce, that there are only two ways that I can live the life that was given to me. And it's interesting because it should be obvious, to be honest, right? But it wasn't, and the two ways is very simple. And one is that I live the life of my own choosing, have the courage to show up the way I want to show up, and be aware of that and make it happen. And the other choice is to live a life that someone else or some other circumstance chooses for me. And that second life, the second option, is the option that most of us are faced with or are in it, and we just don't know it until some events, a very kind of a tectonic event happens, and then we wake up. And that pain that shows up is the sign of you have to go back and think about the options. That's the only way to do it, no other way. So two ways only. And at first, of course I'm living in my own life. What do you mean I'm living someone else's life, or based on certain circumstances? And I was furious when my counselor brought that up, and I was mad not at her, it was myself. I was really, really kind of annoyed and agitated. And then she just said, just think about that right now. Just think about that. Just breathe. Let's do a couple of breathing exercise. And then I want you to, once you're half centered, think about that question. And then remember that idea that our whole identity, which is our life, really, at the end, is based on those 3-4 initial pillars that we had no say, we had no control over, right? We have our family structures, then we have the culture, then we have the environmental factors, right? Nature against nurture. And then we have the circumstances, right? Like, for example, in my case, facing after revolution in Iran, I had to flee because I was a minority and I was persecuted. So that, and I was young, I was 8-9 years old. So that itself was a traumatic event that had happened that shaped who I am now. For sure it did. And I will share that with you guys in another video. So the moment we choose to live our own life of choosing, that is the most meaningful task that any one of us can have, to live our own life the way that we want to, and to reach this level of awareness and potential in life that we can have without any external influences. The choices that we make, right? And how we are. What do you think about those two choices, right? Are you living your own life of choosing, or just like most of us, you're living a life that was kind of expected of you and was chosen for you? That's a terrible way, by the way, if you really think about it, right? I met a person who became a doctor, and the entire persona of that was to please the parents, because the parents were both doctors, and there was expectations that the expectation was that the first child must be a doctor. So she had no choice. She had no choice. And what a miserable life. And she was miserable. She told me that, right? And she even, at one point, she didn't want to even continue carrying the name, the birth name that she was given to. But just think about that, right? And all of us, we are in that continuum of some kind until we become aware that that is not the life that I want. And well, in that case, she decided to not continue anymore. She stopped doing that. She retired, and there was a lot of resistance that happened by her close family members, mom and dad, but she didn't care. She had to live her own journey. So share your journey. Are you living your own life? How do you know that you are? And how do you start if you are not, right? Share. So let me give you an example of my own life. I became aware of that through self-reflection and healing after the divorce and separation, and was that my identity, my life. Remember, I originally said I was quite furious. I'm like, what do you mean that I'm not living my own life? I am, but it turned out that I wasn't, because my entire persona and identity was built on this one thing, that I needed to be the hero for my family. I needed to be number one to solve all the problems there is, and that was part of the first 4 pillars, foundation pillars that I told you. Foundation that was set up for me without me knowing, and I had to completely destroy that foundation, right? Because I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to be such a character, and that identity, and especially the attachment to that identity, forced me through so much pain, and I needed to completely escape that. And that was quite a realization, that I had to be the best father, best partner, in every possible way, and I neglected other things, obviously, and so that was the life that basically was chosen for me because of the past circumstances, and including the circumstances that the events that happened in my life without any control, and no one else is fault of no one except the circumstances. And you can say that whatever, the revolution or the society or whatever, sure, and facing prejudice and all of that. So think about that idea that living your own life or living a life that was chosen for you, there are 2 options we have only. And if we want to live a free life, live an authentic, meaningful life, that we are an agent, a true agent of our own, and that means we have a full sovereignty of our own life, we need to live our own life, not the life that was chosen for us. That is the first foundational step in creating a new identity, that realizing that I am in a place of freedom, or at least getting there more every day because of that choosing, because of I'm living my own life now. I choose where I am. I choose who I want to spend time with. I choose what it is that I want to think without trying to please anybody. And all of that mix an authentic life to be created. So that's the challenge for you.